The fantasy that consists of encouraging youngsters to think they might be more capable of multitasking than their elders is not supported by any serious cognitive study and fosters a compulsive zapping that will do them a lot of harm. What is quite remarkable is that we might expect the younger generations to automatically have a lower level of stress since they were born into a digital world, and so they are supposedly at ease with digital devices. Surprisingly, studies show that the opposite is true. Notably, a major European survey among 30,000 employees, which found that stress rates among the young compared to their elders when it came to information and communication technologies were significantly higher.
This survey, carried out by the GfK Institute in 29 countries, showed that 39% of under 30s suffer from work taking up too great a place in their lives. Because digital devices are continually calling for our attention, it is becoming necessary to learn how to resist these multiple distractions, and starting from a young age. For the first time in France, workshops to develop attention span have been designed based on research studies. These workshops are the result of a collaboration of the neuroscientist Jean-Philippe Lachaux and the Education Administration in the Lyon region. Lachaux is convinced that we can learn to resist the siren call of digital devices from a very young age.
I never thought I'd find myself back at school one day. I thought I was done with all that. Then I started to take on the challenge of going into classes to design a training or education program about attention aimed at children.
Oh, look who's here.
Scientists are here. How's it going, kids?
The program starts as early as nursery school. Despite having attended one of France's most elite universities, Jean-Philippe Lachaux is ready to come down to the kids' level to explain the workings of the brain to them.
All through the year, we're going to learn a little bit about the brain, how it works, and how to use it best to control our attention. This is called the ATOL program. AT for attention and OL for school. The scientist can either stay in his ivory tower, or he can get interested in society and try to propose some solutions.
1,000 pupils take part in this program, which helps children prepare to resist the massive onslaught of digital content. The aim is to show all children that they can master their attention span, with benefits that will last into adulthood and working life. If the experiment proves a success, it will be extended to all schools in France.
What is the brain for? Put your hand up. For thinking. For being attentive.
It's not just for serious stuff, it's also for everything that's fun. What will be important and will create a difference between individuals is the value we give to attention. If for one person or their family it's very important to be attentive, if attention is valued, we'll have more attentive children. If you're with an infant aged maybe 1 or 2 and you start to read the child's stories, and whenever his or her gaze wanders, you stop, the child will sense that you're expecting a certain level of attention. From that point on, there are lots of little things one can do on a daily basis to nurture attention in a child, which can then be developed.
So we have to pay attention to our attention span. It plays a central role in our lives and is increasingly under threat by digital communication.
In an attentive brain, you have the involvement of the regions of the brain which are responsible for the high-level cognitive functions. For example, memorizing, planning, and understanding. Those regions will suddenly start being active, they will react. Whereas when the brain isn't attentive, on the contrary, they will remain silent or simply occupied with something else.
The attention training exercises continue. On the beam, the children must continually refocus their attention to stop themselves from falling. The mental picture of the beam will accompany them throughout their apprenticeship.
Staying balanced on the beam means managing to remain stable despite the forces which are tending to pull me to one side or another. It's the same idea for attention. I try to remain concentrated. I have an exercise to perform. There's point A, point B, the start and the end of the exercise, and I'm going to try and remain concentrated, even if there are forces that are distracting my attention. I might want to talk to my friends, or have an idea. I might lose focus on my exercise. It's about learning to resist these forces by remembering there's this line in the body that I set off. I'm going to relax and try to hold it all together. Stabilization of the body, of the mind, and of the attention.
Jean-Philippe Lachaux has come up with other techniques to help stabilize our attention. To better manage their capacity for attention, the children are learning to divide up their activities.
I have to tidy my room.
Tidy my room.
Tidying a bedroom is a complex task for a child. But if it is broken down into small missions, like putting the dolls in one box, the cars in another, then making the bed, attention does not wander.
All too often, children try to do everything at once. That's one of the reasons they lose concentration. What we're teaching them here is to separate things out into a series of smaller objectives. That way, the room is quickly tidied.
What about us? Can we divide our working day up into mini missions? The key to maintaining good attention is establishing a sequence of tasks, setting one objective after another. On the face of it, that's not so hard. But few of us manage to stick to this, because we think we'll go faster by tackling multiple objectives.
One of the problems for children and even adults is that often we let ourselves get distracted because we haven't got a very clear intention of what we're trying to achieve. We have several objectives at the same time. You have to think that in such moments the brain must make decisions several times per second about what's important and what isn't. And that decision-making can become awfully complicated if we're trying to do several things at once, if you're not very clear about your intention. On top of that, we've seen that the digital environment makes great claims on our attention. Instead of having 2 or 3 potentially interesting things, I have 15,000. I'm on the internet and I'm looking for an answer to a particular question I have in mind. Then suddenly I see an advert or a link which says, click here. So I click and that's it, I'm off. I've forgotten what I was looking for and I've forgotten my initial intention. When you try to do lots of things at once, even if you like this multitasking mode, you have to keep a very large quantity of things in your memory. You have to remember everything involving task 1, task 2, 3 and 4. And it ends up getting too crowded and becomes very difficult on a cognitive level. It's better to set mini missions, each of which can be concluded, leaving you entirely available for the next mission.
Jean-Philippe Lachaux has no doubt that attention can be learned and that it needs to be developed like a muscle.